Josh, I want to talk about the fighter. They just did a One D&D rules update release last week, and it looks pretty interesting to me. And I know the fighter is near and dear to you. Of course, we're leading off with the weapon mastery. Just like the barbarian gets 2, the fighter gets 3 choices. And again, you can swap it out on long rests. It works the same as the barbarian and the feat. Just you get more because you're a fighter. That's what fighters do. But we got some other changes here, like second winds. What's going on with second winds?
Second wind, pretty cool. So, I mean, it's the same thing, but you get to use it twice instead of just once, right off the bat, which is really, really nice. That's a nice change. It gives you more survivability, and it gives that fighter just more resistance. Makes them more of what they already are, right, or better at what they already do. So it's always cool to see more of that.
Yeah, the word that always comes to mind for me when I think about a fighter's toughness and tankability is resilient.
Yes.
They still take damage like other people, but there's just something about them. They just keep coming after you. And this represents that beautifully.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did I say resistance? Because resilient was also the word that I was thinking
It
of.
works either way. At least later on it does. We'll get to.
The next change that they have is action surge, and this one's actually pretty significant. It's going to seem small, but I'll mention why it's significant. So you could push yourself beyond your normal limits for a moment. On your turn, you can take 1 additional action chosen from the following action options: attack, dash, disengage, or dodge. Look, most fighters, I'd say 9 out of 10 fighters, and that is a made-up number, which people who comment on our videos love made-up numbers, so I did that for you. Look, it's the math, Jake. The math doesn't lie.
Common sense. We know it to be true.
So regardless of the math, the point is the overwhelming majority of fighters are going to use attack, dash, disengage, or dodge. However, there are some fighters who use casting. Based on what I'm reading here, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Was that a rules exploit? Probably. Yeah, it's probably not what they had intended. But I don't know. That's kind of significant.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure that you're onto something there. And I think it's hysterical because I normally favor caster classes and I didn't even think of that. But you did. I love when that happens. But I do think a lot of casters, they're always tempted, like, oh, do I want to take 2 levels of fighter because action surge, I could double fireball, I could do, the mind starts going all the weird things and fun things you can do. I think you're right on point there. This doesn't say the magic action, which it does seem like that's something that everything's kind of getting squished into that category to help keep things in the lane it's designed. But there's another part of me that just wonders if this will really affect things the way they think it will, right? Because you still have your original action. And if you wanted to action surge, you could make an attack and then use your other action to attack, cast a spell, or, and do wonder, Josh. But I think you're onto something there. Did they need to nerf this? I don't know. It is a nerf.
I'd say no. I mean, the amount of people actually using that, I don't know. Personally, I say no. But we can talk about it in the comments. So if you have a strong opinion either way, let us know in the comments. And we won't make the people who don't care sit and listen to us talk about that. We'll do it in the comments.
Moving on to the next new thing. Level 7, we have Weapon Expert. And that is, you have honed your use of weapons to an art. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can choose one of the kinds of mastery weapons you're using and replace its mastery property with another mastery property. The chosen kind of weapon must qualify for the new property. For example, you could replace the longsword's flex property with the push property. This property change applies only for you, not for others, and the change ends for you when you finish your next long rest. I kind of think, I know there's kind of like that joke where the fighter could almost be like the golfer that's like, oh, give me my 3 wood, give me, this is a 6 iron here, I'm going to lay up. They have all the different tools at their disposal, but I think this is going to be really nice for fighters that want to have that signature weapon, or they have a magic weapon that is clearly better. They're like, well, I don't want to not use my flame tongue sword, and I still want to be able to push somebody away, whatever it is, I think that's where you're going to see this really used. And it also kind of sets some things up later on that I like. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like it. I think you hit the nail on the head. Whether it's you want to use a weapon because it's better, or you want to use a weapon because it's your father or mother or whoever's sword, I think it's cool that you have some more versatility there. So it's a nice little feature. Nothing huge, nothing crazy, but it's cool. Next one, right along the same lane, it's Weapon Adept. There's 2 paragraphs there, but really what it's telling you is that you could have 2 of these masteries on a weapon instead of just one. You can only use one at a time, but you can have both of them on a weapon. And that's pretty cool for more of the same reason that we had just talked about. They're just giving you more options for that one special weapon. I think it's cool to have there.
This is where it really shines. I like that they have the weapon expert step as a step. I think it's a little funny though that it's like you have mastery and then the next step is expert. It's like, hold on a second. It seems a little, the wording seems a little backwards, and then you're going to adept. It's like, what are we getting worse? Something about that wording sequence bothers me. However, I do love that you can have 2 on it at the same time. I think it would be a little annoying to have to worry about flex or push, because like, wait, dude, you can't push because you rolled flex damage. Hold on. So maybe you got to think about it a little ahead of time. But I think the fighter shines in the tactical realm of martial combat, and this leans into, I want to do it this way this turn. I'm maneuvering this setup for this kind of a thing, and this is very nice. All right, so moving on to the 17th level feature, Unconquerable. When you're in great peril, you can tap into a deep well of resilience within yourself. If you fail a saving throw and your Indomitable feature is expended, you can use it again by expending a use of your second wind, which also heals you. Fighters are getting their own key points, sort of, not really, but kind of in a way. They have their own resource that they can do stuff with, and that's really nice. This is another way that you can just lean into the resiliency of the fighter. One thing I'm kind of curious about, though, is if you fail a saving throw and your Indomitable feature is expended, could you just like burn through all of them in one sequence?
I would say probably no.
That's my instinct, too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Well, rules lawyers, that one's for you.
Yes.
Those are all the big changes. I think one more thing about the base class that's worth mentioning is your 3 extra attacks is moved to 18th level instead of 20th level. I like that for a number of reasons, whether that's multi-classing or just being able to use your capstone feature for more of that adventure. If you get something at level 20, I mean, most campaigns don't even make it that far, but if they do, like, that's the very end. 18th level, you at least have some time to still use that ability. So not huge, but it's nice. So that's everything with the base class. Next is going to be the subclass, which I'll just say it. Unfortunately, they did champion. Champion's fine. There's nothing wrong with champion. There's nothing wrong with playing a champion, but it's vanilla. People get upset with saying that. It is. One of the biggest changes here is going to be the 3rd level feature, Adaptable Victor. You've studied your friends and foes alike and learned that victory relies on adaptability. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can gain proficiency in 1 skill from those available to the class at 1st level, as you remind yourself of past lessons. This proficiency lasts until the end of your next long rest.
What do you think about that one, Josh?
I will say when I initially read this, I thought that this was like a retrain thing, but I guess it's just a sliding proficiency. You could just change it whatever suits your needs.
I mean, it kind of still is if you think about it. It's just one bonus one that you have, and then you retrain that as needed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just, my take on this is kind of like Wizards of the Coast likes to make always solutions for sometimes problems. I feel like you have some tables where it's your first time playing and you're like, I'm gonna do whatever feature, whatever ability, whatever skill, and then you realize the next session or 5 sessions later, I've never used this. Now that I know what it does or how this game works, I really don't like it. Most DMs, any good DM, is going to say, you didn't understand it, you didn't know the game. Honestly, even if you're not a very new player, if there is some sort of misunderstanding and you wanted to change something, it's not game breaking. We'll just change it. Wizards of the Coast is now like, this is a big problem that's happening at every table, so we're going to give you all these solutions so that you could change these things. And it's like, I don't know. How do we start from the top and just say to your DM, don't be a dick? It
really does kind of come down to that, though. I mean, that's kind of number one rule in life, much less D&D. I mean...
And I don't get that vibe from some of the people at the top. You know what I mean? I don't think they take that advice sometimes. Based on tweets, replies to tweets, explanations of rules for genuine questions.
Let us know what you think about that in the comment section, because I can't disagree. The only thing I will say is this is at least in addition to the normal level 3 feature, improved critical, which is the same. Critical hit on a
Yeah.
19 or 20.
If you want to use the old Jake 1-2 punch, improved critical plus brutal critical.
Not too bad.
They have
Not
some
too
nice
bad.
synergy.
They do. Fighters and barbarians. Match made in heaven.
Who would have thought?
But the level 6 champion feature is Heroic Warrior. The thrill of battle drives you toward victory. Once per combat, you can give yourself heroic advantage if you start your turn without it. Simple. Nice. Nobody's going to complain about that. Tell you that much.
I won't.
No. Then, Josh, they gave a little extra something to Survivor. The Heroic Rally is still in place where you get hit points every round. Pretty sweet in and of itself. But then they give you this Defy Death. You get advantage on death saves. And basically, your expanded critical hit range applies to death saving throws too, where at 18, 19, or 20 will get you your hit point and get you back up.
Yeah, I love that. I think it makes sense for the class. If your superior critical is a thing and that's your main thing, why not have it work on death saves as well? Kind of goes back to what you had said earlier. It just makes the fighter more resilient. And I think that is absolutely the big fantasy with the fighter. So it's cool to see.
What we love to see is your thoughts about what they did with the fighter here on this playtest in the comment section. And what we would like you to see is other videos that we made. You could be on this topic, which you'll see on screen now. You can hit the subscribe button, another thing we'd like to see, as well as the like button. All the things. So, yeah, you should do all of that.
We'd also like to see you in Discord, so join a Discord.
Ooh, check the link tree out. There you go.